Curtis Jones becomes part of the solution as Liverpool navigate key stage of season. By the time Liverpool play their next match, Curtis Jones will have turned 21 years old. A coming-of-age marker doesn't really seem to exist in English football much anymore. Gone are U21 leagues, several top-flight players have needed to wait until 22 or 23 for their chance, more coaches subscribe to the good enough, old enough mantra. But still, no longer being a literal under-21 effectively marks the transition from youngster to senior player, be it as a superstar in waiting or squad filler option. For a player who recently had his manager claim to be his biggest fan, it's perhaps an even more milestone than usual. Jones has had some incredible highs with the Reds, but also some fairly significant spells out of the side. If this is the time for him to no longer be seen as a young player and merely be a first-team regular, he could hardly have better backing. He could also have hardly timed his latest rise to form and fitness better. Sunday's 3-1 win over Crystal Palace saw a fairly erratic overall performance from Liverpool, who were irresistible for 30 minutes and atrocious for 30 minutes before establishing enough of a handle on matters again to see out the win. Yes, the late penalty ended the contest, but the Reds had already re-seized control and composure by then. Palace had only taken 2 shots in the previous half hour of play, just 1 on target. Anything could still have had happened, sure, and it did, a goal at the other end. Jones played the full 90 minutes of that Selhurst Park encounter, a 4th full game in Liverpool's last 5. That run has come at a time when Jurgen Klopp has been without 2 of his go-to options in midfield, Thiago Alcantara, injured, and Naby Keita, at the Africa Cup of Nations. Both have been regularly called upon by the manager as key parts of his tactical plan when available, yet neither of them are available anywhere near frequently enough to be reasonably called regulars. It speaks volumes that despite Jones missing the start of the season with concussion, later being absent with COVID and sitting out no fewer than 13 games with a freak eye injury sustained during training, he has played over 200 minutes more this season than both his far more senior teammates. Against Brentford, Arsenal and certainly in the first half against Palace, Jones was excellent. His measured approach on the ball, a clearly diligent focus on his defensive work high upfield, and positional play out of possession are all key facets of his game which make him an option for Klopp and Liverpool's left-sided N08 role, the slightly more restricted of the two in the team in terms of forward runs, wide overlaps and breaking into the box. If all that sounds at least weighted toward a defensive-minded player, bear in mind both that Liverpool's defending starts with the most attack-minded players and also that Jones still has a little work to do in terms of nailing down an absolute role in the team. He's an attacking midfielder by youth role, a left-sided forward by his breakthrough minutes, and yet a scheming, deep-lying option most of the time in the current setup. Is that his best role for the long term? It appears Klopp thinks so, which again is a pointer to just how much faith he has in the academy graduate, that he would entrust him with one of the most tactically important roles in the side, if not the most eye-catching at every moment. The Gini Wijnaldum role, as it were. Consistency is everything in that area of the park for Liverpool, both on and off the ball. He must be able to contribute toward the high-risk approach in attack, but also be able to mitigate that risk defensively. After 62 first-team appearances for the Anfield club, Jones is well aware of the requirements and the expectations of him. He also probably knows well enough by now that, just because he's praised for an outing, or does well in several games in succession, there's every chance that against Cardiff or Leicester after the international break, he may be back on the bench. That's the nature of having a returning winner of everything like Thiago for a teammate who plays in the same role. Jones still has plenty to work on. Most just about 21-year-olds do. But in one of the most testing times of the season for Liverpool, not just without those midfielders, but their 2 top forwards too, both at the AFCON with Keita, they have navigated the FA Cup third round, reached the League Cup final, and won both Premier League fixtures to claw back a little ground on Man City. And Jones has been part of the solution. It's only a week or 2 since Klopp acknowledged he had spoken at length with Jones about making the next steps to fulfilling the incredible potential he has. On the recent evidence, that process is well in hand, and if there's to be silverware won at Anfield this season, every reason to suspect the local-born NO17 will play a very notable part in securing it.